There were some issues in the election where the choice between the candidates couldn't have been more stark. One of those, I think, is the issue of climate and the green economy. The Democratic Party, led by the Biden administration, and its unprecedented focus on the issue, ran on passing the largest climate spending bill in history, opened the door to trillions in public and private dollars going towards new green investments. On the other side, of course, Donald Trump railed against electric cars. He claimed windmills cause cancer, which is one of his favorites. And he's really psyched about drill, baby, drill, although the Biden administration set records for oil exports. Now he has tapped someone who embodies his pro-fossil fuel position to be his Secretary of Energy. Liberty Energy CEO Chris Wright. Wright's a staunch defender of fossil fuels. He said that greenhouse emissions targets are perverse. He's attacked wind and solar subsidies. And in a gimmick to defend fracking, he once drank fracking fluid, a mix of water, bleach soap, and other substances. Looks delish. If confirmed, he'll be taking over a department that has been remade under the Biden administration to become a clean energy powerhouse. And I'm joined now by the person who spearheaded that shift, the current Secretary of the Department of Energy, Jennifer Granholm. It's good to have you here.
Thanks, Chris. Great to be
here. I want to start on that because, the Department of Energy is a strange entity in many ways. It sort of started as the caretaker for the U.S. nuclear system, basically. And it's got these huge research labs. But it has been the Biden administration and you and the Inflation Reduction Act to sort of make it a kind of research
deployment arm.
Deployment arm for green energy.
Right, exactly. We reorganized the department to add a whole new emphasis on deploy is what we say inside the department. And so while we have preserved the legacy nuclear mission, the Manhattan Project, and the NNSA, which is the Nuclear Security Administration. So there's a component that's attached, a very big component attached to the defense industry. But we are really focused on getting out across the country clean energy and manufacturing of the products that will get us to that clean energy. And Chris, I can just tell you, it has been amazing how policy has worked. Because as of today, there are 950 factories that have come to the United States or expanded in the United States because of the Inflation Reduction Act.
Wow.
Which is, you're talking to the former governor of Michigan. We were at a time when we were spiraling, losing so many jobs. The industrial Midwest, as you know, is all 950. That's so far. And the act is only a couple of years old. It is just an incredible boon for resurging manufacturing across America to make these products.
We should note that the geopolitics of this domestically are fascinating. Republican-leaning states are attracting most of the clean energy investments spurred by the Biden administration's signature Inflation Reduction Act. That's the Wall Street Journal. The New York Times, 85% of the announced investments from the bill have come in Republican districts, according to data from August. I've done podcasts on this. I don't know if it was partly happy accident, partly intentional to make sure this money flowed to the places that might be the most skeptical of the green economy. And
there wasn't an intention about it. A lot of that is because of tax credits, right? And so we do grants, and tax credits are also a part of that, as well as loans. But honestly, the companies make the choice. This is private sector led, government enabled. And so they've made the choices of where to go. But because of that 85%, it would be political malpractice to undo the exact thing that has created jobs in those districts.
Well, I want to talk about the politics of this in two directions. So one of them is, I want to talk about the going forward, but one sort of retroactively. I mean, it does seem to me like I covered this a lot. I've had you on the program. I've done multiple podcasts.
No, thank you so much.
This is something I'm really, and it really is, people that know this policy area are like, there is something that's never happened here. It's pretty amazing.
Yep.
The American public just didn't really know about it.
Right.
Seem to care much one way or the other. I don't even think when you run the numbers, if the districts that got the investment are going to have had any political effect whatsoever. Like, what do you make of that?
Because, so the law is only 2 years old. We have all these announcements. We have a number of groundbreakings.
Right.
We've got fewer ribbon cuttings because it takes some time for the buildings to be built, the steel to be in the ground. The thing is, Donald Trump is going to walk in and be able to take credit for all of these factories actually appearing, even though they happened under the Inflation Reduction Act passed by Joe Biden.
Okay, so that then brings us to the second question. I mean, I think people hear that and it makes them want to tear their hair out. But
it means that there's durability.
Right. So that's the question
point.
is I don't care so much about that as much as I care about us continuing to move towards a green economy. You think that the nature of that, the fact that he can take credit for it and that all these Republican districts are seeing this money, which is still going to keep going, right, for 10 years.
Right. I mean, Congress,
you think they're not going to repeal it?
Well, look, the Congress is so close, right? In the House, there were 18 House Republicans who sent a letter saying, please do not repeal the Inflation Reduction Act, the portions, because their districts were benefiting from all of the investment that's going there. We've had so far just $500 billion worth of investment in these, whether it's batteries for electric vehicles or the vehicles themselves or wind or solar. I mean, you think of in Georgia, in Dalton, Georgia, the Q cells, they're going to be hiring 4,500 people to build solar panels in the United States, a product that historically had been in China. All the Republicans have continued to talk about critical minerals and bringing back supply chains. That's exactly what this act is doing. Those 950 factories, it's all part of the supply chains. You have to have an anode, a cathode, separator material, electrolyte for a battery, for an electric vehicle. All of that stuff's coming back, the critical minerals. We are bringing that back from China. That's what's so exciting about what is happening in the country. So there are bipartisan oases of support for bringing back critical minerals, for nuclear power, for clean hydrogen, for geothermal. I mean, there's all sorts of areas where we can get consensus, including nuclear.
I mean, yes. I mean, definitely nuclear. I mean, usually the political logic is that no one says no to free money, but not always. I mean, I watched this happen with Medicaid expansion, as you'll recall, right? I mean, the idea was, and it wasn't free money, there was a match, but in the beginning it was free. And a bunch of states were like, we don't want it, right?
Well,
cut off your nose to spite your face. I guess that's going to be a real question here.
Well,
does it become polarizing
honestly,
that way?
These jobs, jobs, every governor wants jobs. Every governor wants their people employed. Every governor wants to create industries of the future so that people are not moving away. And, Chris, the rebates for people to be able to retrofit their homes with energy-saving appliances, et cetera, 49 of the 50 states have said, we're in.
Right.
So it's happening. States want to see this, and they want to help their citizens at least get heat pumps and other things for their homes.
This was the largest climate investment in American history.
Yep.
And
in the world.
In the world. It's put us on a much better trajectory than we were. I've been the first to say it. It's still not enough.
Right.
We need more to get there.
100%.
Scale 1 to 10, how are you feeling about the future, given the fact that this guy who says it's all
I know. Can I just say, I am optimistic that this is inexorable, that it is inevitable that this transition will continue because, yes, the red districts, because of the, bipartisan support for these technologies, but also because states and local governments and the private sector are moving forward on this, and that is not going to turn back.
Also, the price is coming down around the world. The story in Pakistan where people are basically just jerry-rigging their solar panels and sidestepping the grid, you're going to see that all over the world. Energy Secretary Jennifer Granholm, always good to have you here. Thank you.
Great to be here. Thank you, Chris.
That is All In on this Thursday night. Alex Wagner Tonight starts right now. Good evening, Alex. Good evening, Alex.
I think it's a scale of 1 to 10. I'm saying that sounds like a 6.5, 7.
Yeah, what do we think? Yeah, 6.5, 7?
Yeah, I would say maybe even an 8.
Okay.
Whoa. Okay, I'll take it.
Optimism on this Thursday night.
I'll take that from Secretary of Energy Jennifer Granholm. Yes, continue the conversation. Take some more minutes of my. Anyway, it's a really important conversation, a great conversation, and at the end of the day, kind of an optimistic one.
It is. I think it is an area.
Thank you guys both.